So in today's video, I'm going to be ranking every Bradford City player's 2023-24 campaign. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try and hit 150 likes on today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We're now on the road to 9,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already with that post notification bell on. It's free to do so, and it does massively help out. Get your thoughts in as well down in the comment section down below. Do you agree or disagree with my ranking? Let me know down below your player of the season, worst player of the season, most underrated, and also your most overrated player as well. Now we're including every player who was kicked a ball this season for Bradford City, apart from some of the youngsters like Noah Wadsworth and Freddie Jeffries, because they would have just gone straight into the didn't play enough category. But people like Harry Lewis, Rehan Tulloch, Chisholm Afoka, people who we didn't really speak about in too much detail. I think I'm right in saying there is 31 players for us to go through and rank. We've got 6 different categories, so make sure to drop a like on there for me, subscribe if you're new as well, and let's get into it. Starting out then with Andy Cook. Now I think we all knew Andy Cook this season was going to have a little bit of a drop off from the previous campaign, because he scored 31 goals and I think 8 assists in total for him in all competitions in the 22-23 campaign, so we knew it was very unlikely he was going to hit nearly 40 goal contributions again this season. But he still ended pretty strong in the league. He finished up with 25 goal contributions in 39 starts and proved why he is really important to Bradford City. And yes, he's 33 years of age, and at times he had bad games this season. You think to likes of Stockport away and Notts County away, where he missed some real big chances in the game, but on the whole he's a natural goal scorer. He's still got 2 years remaining on his current contract as well, and I know he gets criticised at times, and I've obviously been one of them people who has criticised him, but on the whole I do think he has had a good season. And for me personally, when you're scoring a goal every 203 minutes with a 13% goal conversion rate, that's pretty solid for a striker. He has actually missed 21 big chances this season as well. Obviously a little bit of decline from the previous season, but it has still been a good campaign for him, creating 13 big chances, averaging 1.1 key passes per game as well. Defensively offers quite a lot as well, with 1.7 clearances per game, and on the whole for me has had a pretty good season. From one former Tranmere Rovers man to another, next up is Liam Ridehalgh, and I was massively disappointed that he got offered a new contract in the summer. Obviously he decided to take that up, and he played quite a lot this season, and for the large part to our detriment. He was never good enough last season, and this season it was somehow even worse because Lewis Richards picked up so many injuries this campaign. Ridehalgh played quite a lot, and even when we had that centre-half crisis where everyone seemed to be injured or away on international duty around March sort of time, and he came into the team and we were just getting battered left, right and centre. He made 22 starts in the league, 28 appearances in all competitions, got 1 goal and 1 assist, but only managed to keep the 5 clean sheets, just 0.6 interceptions per game, 1.7 clearances per game, 1 tackle per game. These statistics are not really very good for a fullback. His crossing accuracy percentage is quite good at 31%, but defensively nowhere near good enough. He's far too slow, he gets caught out of position far too often as well, and on the whole, like I mentioned earlier, should have never been signed up for this season. But it's been an absolutely terrible campaign for Liam Ridehalgh. I can't really think of one game off the top of my head where he was good. A lot of them, the aim when I was watching Ridehalgh is please don't let us down today, and he let us down on far too many occasions, and I wish him all the best in the future. Obviously it has been confirmed that he has been released, because I do think he's a very good professional, but in terms of his footballing ability he was terrible, absolutely woeful. So from one left back to another, next up is Lewis Richards. Obviously we brought him in after the first couple of weeks of the season had been completed, and he had a number of injuries this season which has massively hindered where I can put Lewis Richards on there, because I think at 22 years of age, when he has played, on the whole he has been solid. He has had some bad games. You think Notts County away in that first half, he got absolutely torn apart, but on the whole I do think he has been a pretty positive signing for us. But like I say, injuries have massively hindered him this season, and he only managed to 20 starts. Ridehalgh got more starts and total appearances in the league this season. Richards playing 26 in total, played quite a lot of the last couple of weeks of the season as a substitute. No goals, but 2 assists in there, 1.4 tackles per game, 4.3 balls recovered per game, and 1.2 clearances per game as well. I'm surprised by how solid his accurate crosses percentage is. It's 25%, which I feel like when I watch Lewis Richards, a lot of his crosses that come into the box are quite underhit and poor. But on the whole, a very physical fullback, like someone who lacks the fitness as well. Normally after about an hour, 70 minutes, he's absolutely blowing, but I think he can work on that in pre-season under Graham Alexander. Injuries have massively hindered him this season though, so I can't put him any higher than average because he has missed over half of the campaign through injury, unfortunately. When he has played though, he has been solid. Just next season, he needs to work on his fitness more. After that, we move on then to the star boy, Bobby Pointon. At the start of the campaign, before pre-season had started, nobody was expecting Bobby Pointon to have the season that he had. When we watched him then in a couple of pre-season games, you know, we were thinking, all right, let's hope he gets a couple opportunities this season. But when he got into the team, he almost made himself undroppable. And Alexander went through a period of not even selecting him on the bench. And who knows where we would have finished the season if Pointon would have played a lot more. But he has been absolutely excellent for us this season. Obviously, we have offered him a new long-term contract with the football club, which fingers crossed he does sign, but like I say, really struggled for minutes for the large part. It was Mike Hughes who gave him the chance, and then he played a couple of games under Alexander before being put on the bench for quite a while, and then struggled to find himself in the matchday squad. Around January sort of time, he was back in and around it. Derby away, Colchester away, Swindon away were 3 games that I remember him playing, and for the large part playing quite well and got a couple goal contributions in them games, or played very well. But then Mike Hughes just seemed to not be able to find a spot for him in the matchday squad, and in total only actually managed 16 starts in the league this season, 24 appearances in total, but he finished the season with 4 goals and 3 assists, averaging a goal every 348 minutes, which for the position he's playing in is not too bad. A 15% goal conversion rate, so pretty solid there. He created 3 big chances, averaging 1.3 key passes per game, 1.1 tackles per game as well. He does only win 18% of his aerial duels, as you would expect, but it's been an absolutely outstanding breakthrough season for Bobby Pointon, and I really look forward to seeing him kick on at next campaign. I see him really cementing himself in that side for next season, looking between 10 and 15 goal contributions in my personal opinion, and it's been an absolutely incredible season for Bobby Pointon. Moving on then to Clark Adore, obviously signed a 3-year contract in the summer with the football club, and under Mark Hughes played the first couple of matches and looked really good, but then after that just massively faded away. And when we signed him, we all expected him to play left wing back, but he was adamant in all his interviews that he likes to play in the number 10 positions. And after watching him for a full season, the fact that Clark had always playing left wing back or even left centre back at times under Keith Curle at Hartlepool was absolutely criminal. Clark Adore can not really defend, to be honest with you. He's not a man who you want to see challenging for headers and physical battles, but he gets the ball in forward areas and he can make things happen. The thing though with Clark Adore for me is he only did it for about 4 games this season, and he played 32 matches in League 2 in total, starting 20 of them. And I think Graham Alexander dropping him from the squad around, was it January, February sort of time, and then he got the best out of Adore for about a month, 6 weeks, where Adore looked really good, got a couple of goal contributions. I remember the game at home to MK Dons he was absolutely brilliant in, but then after that towards the back end of the season struggled to really get into the side, which was when we saw Bobby Pointon getting more game time, and Adore just wasn't really affecting the games. I think going into next season, depending on who we sign in the summer, because I do expect us to recruit in his position, because there are a lot of good free agents, you think like a Dan Kemp, Ben Whitfield. Adore, in my opinion, might struggle for game time next season, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him go out on loan, because he needs to be more consistent with his performances, because in total he only managed 3 goals and 3 assists, which is not really good enough in 32 appearances. And there is clearly a very talented player in Clark Adore, but he's just not showing it enough. He tries to be too nonchalant at times, and when he was playing really well in that 4 to 6 week period under Alexander, like I say around February, March sort of time, he was working really hard off the ball as well. But then towards the back end of the season we saw the Adore which we'd seen for the majority of this campaign, where he's not really affecting the games and he's kind of just going missing quite a lot, to be honest with you. And I feel like next season is a big season for him, because he needs to be much better in pivotal moments. He needs to be creating more chances and taking players on, because when he does, like, he's genuinely got some of the best footwork I've ever seen at Bradford City. He's absolutely outstanding with the ball at his feet. You put him in a really tight situation with 2 or 3 players around him and he has got the ability to get away from them, but he just doesn't show it enough. He chooses not to, and on the whole for me, I do think it has been a poor, underwhelming season for Clark Adore. If he'd have played how he did in that little period for the majority of the season, it would have been an outstanding campaign, and we're thinking about a player who's come in after not really knowing what his best position is and ending the season probably 10-15 goal contributions, but it hasn't worked out like that, and I think it is down to Clark Adore. Only Clark Adore can get the best out of Clark Adore at this moment in time, and next season is a big year for him. This season though, I think it was a poor season. Chisholm Afoke is a very simple one for me. He spent the first half of the season on loan with the football club and only managed the 2 league appearances, just the 1 start for him as well, averaging 49 minutes per game. He's then gone back to Aston Villa's under-21s where he's really struggled for game time there as well. Played a couple matches for us in cup competitions. I remember the Middlesbrough game where he started in the Carabao Cup 3rd round and was absolutely terrible, got subbed off at half-time, I'm pretty sure. I remember his dive against Grimsby in the last minute, got booked for that one, and just on the whole, a really poor signing for the football club. But like I say, only managed 2 appearances in the league and just the 1 start, so I simply have to put him in the category of didn't play enough. Now, Daniel Oyegoke is a very interesting one. Obviously, we signed him on the summer on loan from Brentford, played quite a lot at the start of the campaign, displaced Brad Halliday under Mark Hughes, which we all saw as a baffling decision because in pre-season he looked pretty suspect, had some good moments, but then started out the season sent off on debut, and once Mark Hughes got the sack, that he was then playing central midfield and on the wing under Kevin McDonald, and then we also saw him in the first game under Graham Alexander play 10 minutes and pick up quite a long-term injury. He was out for about 4 or 5 months, and then the next couple of matches when he came back from injury were very poor. Then he had some good games, then he had a bad game, and then ended the season pretty strong. So Daniel Oyegoke for me is a really interesting one because he was absolutely shocking under Mark. He was like genuinely hopeless going forward defensively all over the place, but he did end the season pretty strong. I don't really know where to put Oyegoke because you could make an argument for any of the 3 middle categories in my personal opinion. He made the 24 appearances for in total in the league, 15 of them being starts, no goal contributions, but defensively pretty solid at 1.5 interceptions per game, 1.3 tackles per game, 4.1 at balls recovered per game, and 1.6 clearances per game as well. Did make a few errors which led to goals. You think the likes of Walsall away, think he should do better for both of them goals in my personal opinion, but Daniel Oyegoke is just a very interesting one because you could maybe argue that he ended the season very well, but then at the start of the season he was absolutely dreadful. Like, I genuinely don't know where to put Oyegoke. For now, I think I'm going to put him in the poor category. I do think there is a player in Daniel Oyegoke, but I think he hasn't been consistent enough, and he has ended the season strong. But I don't want to be blinded by recency bias and his recent form, so I'm going to stick him in the poor category. Jamie Walker is up next then, and he's kind of similar to Lewis Richards in terms of when he plays, very good, but again has missed large chunks of this season through injury, and that is a massive concern for me going into next season. We know the club decided to not trigger his extension option in his contract for a further season, and they have offered him new fresh terms. He is now 30 years of age as well, but a lot of his injuries come from contact rather than muscular injuries, and he did only manage the 27 starts for us this season, 30 appearances in total in the league, ended the season very strong, finished in total on 8 goals and 5 assists in the league, which is a very solid return to be fair. 13 goal contributions from midfield is not really something we've seen for a long time, to be honest with you. Scored a goal every 279 minutes, missed 6 big chances with a 13% goal conversion rate, also created 8 big chances, averaging 1.8 key passes per game. He also averaged 4.1 at balls recovered per game as well. His high pressing is clear for all to see that it is very good. Like I say, ended the season very strong. His last 4 matches consisted of a goal, and then he got 2 goals, an assist and a red card, then nothing, and then also an assist as well. Jamie Walker has proven to be a very key player for us this season, and over the last couple of seasons when he has been fit and available, certainly an improvement on his previous campaign. On the whole, for me, I can't put him in outstanding because he has missed, about a quarter of the season, maybe a third of the season through injury. So on the whole, I'm probably going to stick Jamie Walker in that good category. Harry Lewis is up next then. Obviously Bradford City's #1 from the summer up until the start of January, and then decided to join Sky Bet League 1 side Carlisle United for quite a hefty undisclosed fee considering his output this season. Obviously we know in the previous campaign, absolutely incredible for us and probably won us 10-20 points, something like that. He was absolutely unbelievable. This season though was costing us points. He was making error after error, and in terms of his time at Bradford City, played 26 league matches, averaged conceding 1.3 goals per game, which is an absolutely terrible return. Apparently he saved 1 out of 4 penalties. He conceded 6 goals from outside of the box as well, and I just look at his statistics, only kept the 8 clean sheets in that time, considering how good our defence was on paper at the start of the campaign. Obviously, since he's moved to Carlisle, he's been absolutely dreadful there. But this season, Harry Lewis was terrible for us. I can't remember one good game that he had, and he was costing us so many games. You think Tranmere away, yes, he saved the penalty, but he should definitely do better for both of their goals. And that's just, I mean, Doncaster away as well. What on earth is he doing for their goal? Absolutely terrible. And for me personally, it's a massive contrast to the previous season, but he was woeful for us in the first half of this campaign. The captain, Richie Smallwood, is up next then, and again, at the start of the campaign under Mike Hughes, didn't really impress, to be honest with you, and I think Mike Hughes was playing a system and a style of play which doesn't really suit Smallwood, because out of possession, he's obviously much better than what he is in possession. He made the 42 appearances for us in total in the league, starting 39 of them, 1 goal and 2 assists. Both of them assists actually came on the final day of the season, but he ended the season then with 0.9 interceptions per game, 2.5 tackles per game, 6.4 balls recovered per game, 1.1 clearances per game as well. He wins 55% of his ground duels and 54% of his aerial duels. And I think the last 6 to 10 games of the season, he was absolutely outstanding. Like, he got us over the line in so many of the matches. Walsall away and Barrow away are the 2 games which massively stick out for me. I think he ended the season very strong. There were some moments at the start of the campaign which were pathetic. The second goal away at Morecambe right at the start of the season was disgusting from Smallwood, and if he hadn't have played for the football club after that moment, I would have had no complaints, because that was pathetic the way that he gave up from that. But since then, he's bounced back very well. Alexander is playing a system which suits Smallwood much better out position, to just be allowed to play in that screen role, win the ball back, kick a few people, and then play it to the better attacking players. And I think Smallwood is now, or certainly ended the season very strongly, and we are now getting the best out of him. We know he's obviously going to be here for next campaign as well. And for me personally, I would say on the whole had a good season. I think the good matches certainly outweighed the bad matches, and for me personally, I think he did have a good campaign. Before we go any further with today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Let's waste no further time and get into the next player. Adam Wilson is a very, very interesting one. We know that obviously the club gave him a 3-year deal near the end of August, came in from Wales, I do believe, and made the 10 appearances in total for us in the league, only at the 4 starts for us, and didn't really play much under Graham Alexander, which I always thought was particularly strange. There was a period where he played away at Notts County on the 18th of November and then didn't feature at all for us until the 5th of March against Doncaster. Looked really good in that match on off the bench, and then we only saw him one other time for the remainder of the season. And I don't know why Wilson has kind of been given this mistreatment. It was a very similar treatment to what Bobby Pointon got, but he was kind of forced to play. The fans kind of forced Pointon back in the side, and then he made himself undroppable because the pressure was starting to mount on Graham Alexander. And Wilson, like I said, massively interesting. He obviously scored a very important goal for us in the home 1-1 draw quite late on against Wrexham, and statistically doesn't particularly look great, in all honesty. He does have a really good successful dribble rate, average 1.5 of them per game, 63% of them being successful, but I think the sample size that we're going off here is quite a small one. It's enough to judge him on. In the games that he played, sometimes looked good, sometimes looked like he was trying it too hard. I think on the whole, I'll probably average it out and balance it out as average, to be honest. Viden Oliver is another very interesting one for Bradford City. Obviously spent the majority of it again injured for us this season, as he has done in his full 2 years at the football club, but barely being able to kick a ball for us. Then asked to go out on loan in January, went to Stevenage and massively struggled there. In League 2 for us this season, the 6 appearances for him, and all of them coming as a substitute. No goals and no assists. Wins 52% of his aerial duels, 33% of his ground duels. Only averages, you look at 0.2 clearances per game, but again, it's a very, very small sample size. He did win a penalty for us in the home match against Crawley Town, but he's made no starts, just the 6 sub appearances, only averaging 22 minutes per game. It's a very, very small sample size, and while in them games he was terrible, I don't think we can really judge him. I think it would be unfair to give him anything other than didn't play enough, although in the games he did play, he was absolutely shocking. Callum Kavanagh is up next then, obviously a man we brought in from Middlesbrough on a permanent deal in January on quite a long-term contract. He's here until 2026, so a 2.5-year deal for him. I think we paid an undisclosed fee for him. I've no idea what that fee is, but when he came in, I think a lot of people were massively concerned by the calibre of the signing because he had massively struggled in his 2 previous loan spells at this level with Newport County and Harrogate Town. But since Kavanagh came in, I think he did do a really good job. At 15 appearances for him in total in the league, 11 starts, 5 goals and 2 assists, 7 goal contributions and 11 starts for a 20-year-old is very, very impressive, and didn't even have a pre-season with us either. Averages a goal every 201 minutes. He has missed 6 big chances with a 14% goal conversion rate. I think Kavanagh plays much better as a second striker. He plays much better in a 2 up front rather than on the left of a front 3, in my personal opinion. And I would say on the whole had a really good season. Now you could maybe argue outstanding, but then you look at the players who are in outstanding and then the players who are in good. I think he looks much better in good rather than outstanding, but I do think it was a really positive season for Callum Kavanagh. Certainly massively exceeded my expectations when we brought him in, and one clearly the club have got right. Looks like a really good signing for us. I'm excited to see how he does get on next season. We've got a lot of good strikers in the building already for next season, and I expect us to get some more in as well. But on the whole, Callum Kavanagh did have a really good season for us. Whilst Matt Darbishire did only manage the 1 start for us in the league, he did make the 9 appearances in total, so 8 of them coming as a substitute. Hasn't featured in a matchday squad for Bradford City since our Football League Trophy defeat against Wycombe Wanderers back in the middle of February. Hasn't played for the football club since the start of January in that 4-2 defeat against Crawley, where he must have come on as a substitute. But I think he has played enough to give an opinion on, and he was absolutely terrible. No goals, no assists, should have never been signed last January by Mark Hughes. He was clearly doing his mate a favour. He has now been released by the football club, was focusing a lot more on coaching towards the second half of this season as well, but at 38 years of age, he was never really going to offer enough. And if we're signing players like Matt Darbishire, with all due respect, and there's no wonder we're not getting out of this division, he was never the right answer for us. And while his game time was very limited this season, I still think he played enough for us to make a judgment on him, and he was absolutely woeful. He was absolutely useless. I'll keep it short and sweet then when we're talking about Brad Halliday, because genuinely I think there's probably around an hour, maybe 2 hours worth of footage on this channel of me just praising Brad Halliday because he's been that good this season. Absolutely brilliant. Again, similar to Bobby Pointon, has been offered a new improved long-term contract by the football club, which I do massively hope that he signs. He's played 44 matches for us in total this season in League 2, starting 41 of them, 4 goals and 4 assists. Defensively, absolutely incredible. 1.4 interceptions per game, 2.8 tackles per game, 5.7 balls recovered per game, and 1.2 clearances per game as well. Absolutely brilliant. He wins 46% of his aerial duels, 59% of his ground duels, with a 42% successful dribble rate. He came in from Fleetwood as a little bit of an unknown. Ended the season absolutely excellently though. If we look at his last 5 matches, he got an assist, then nothing, then also nothing, then a goal, then a goal. Ended the season very strong. He had a 15% goal conversion rate and also missed 1 big chance, which for a right wing back is absolutely brilliant. Obviously our player of the season, absolutely outstanding all campaign, and in my personal opinion has to go in that top category alongside Bobby Pointon. What an absolutely brilliant season he had. The signing of Ridehalgh Tulloch was a very interesting one because some of his other previous loan spells to the level didn't really work out, massively struggled for game time, but when he played for Bradford City, I don't think he looked too bad, in all honesty. Was massively impressive away at Newport County when we beat them 4-1. I think he got a goal and an assist in that game, but again, similar to some other players in today's video, just massively struggled for game time, and I don't really understand why. Just the 8 appearances for him in total, only 2 of them had been starts, finished on 1 goal and 1 assist, ended up signing for Shrewsbury in January, only featured in a matchday squad for them on 3 occasions and only played once, and they were all around that March sort of period. On the whole, for me, Tulloch I thought looked promising, but he's just made the 2 starts, only the 8 appearances for him in total. I think it's enough to judge him on. We haven't seen him in a Bradford City matchday squad since Sutton away. We haven't seen him play for the football club since MK Dons away, and these were matches under Kevin McDonald, so pre-Graham Alexander back in October. On the whole though, I would say played well, didn't play enough though, so I'll probably stick him in average. Colin Doyle was obviously our number 2 at this campaign. Didn't play in League 2, but played quite a lot in the Football League Trophy. I think he played 6 out of our 7 matches, and on the whole was pretty solid. He played 6 matches, like I say, in total, average conceding only 0.5 goals per game, which I think is a pretty solid record in my personal opinion. He kept 3 clean sheets out of them games, so a 50% clean sheet record is obviously very good. I would say the only game in which I saw him struggle was Derby away, when he couldn't really take goal kicks and looked a bit suspect, was dropping a couple things, but in all the other matches I thought he was pretty solid, made some really good saves as well, and for a 38-year-old he's not an awful backup. It's just, in my personal opinion, if he was then to come in for the league, I wouldn't be very confident in that. I would like us to bring in another goalkeeper this summer, or maybe give Zach Cady a little bit more game time in pre-season. On the whole though, for me, Colin Doyle, nothing really too stand out, certainly not poor though, so I'll probably stick him in average as well. Kevin McDonald was brought in the summer by Mark Hughes, signed a 2-year contract with the football club at 35 years of age now, and a really bewildering signing. Hasn't played at all, or hasn't even featured in a matchday squad since our 3-0 defeat against Harrogate, and I think it's highly likely he does move on this summer. McDonald is a decent player at League 2 level these days, but he's not a man who really suits Graham Alexander's system, so I certainly can see him moving on this summer. We need a holding midfielder who's much better without the ball than with the ball, and only made the 19 appearances for us in total in the league, just 10 of them being starts. No goals, but he did also chip in with 3 assists for us. Like I say, defensively not particularly great, only 0.7 interceptions per game, 0.9 clearances per game as well. He did give away 2 penalty offences. He actually has an 80% successful dribble rate, and I think he does keep the ball very well for large parts, but he's just not really suited Graham Alexander's system. Missed about 1 or 2 months as well while he's actually managing, so we've got to give Kevin McDonald a lot of credit for that, but I think as a player he has massively flopped. He's had a number of injuries for us this season. I wouldn't say he's been woeful, because he has had some really good games. You think to the likes of Newport away, where he's absolutely outstanding, one of the best central midfield performances I've ever seen watching Bradford City. On the whole though, not particularly great, nothing really massively stand out apart from that singular game, and like I say, I only managed the 10 starts all season in League 2, so I'm probably going to put McDonald down as a poor season for him. Emmanuel Osadebe was a man who we let go in January to Forest Green Rovers, so take some of these stats with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because they will include some from his time at Forest Green, but I've tried to work it out in the best way that I can. He made 37 appearances in League 2 this season, but only 17 of them were for Bradford City. He looked quite good in a couple of appearances under Kevin McDonald. I remember in the EFL Trophy where he scored against Grimsby, scored the match winner away at AFC Wimbledon, but on the whole had so many matches for Bradford City where you think, how are you a professional footballer? If you're a professional footballer, then surely I've got a chance, surely my granddad's got a chance of making it as a professional one day, because there were times where he would genuinely try and do skill moves or even try and control the ball, and he would tackle himself. I remember Stockport away, there was a simple 5-yard pass played to him and he tried to control the ball and he ended up falling over and the ball went straight out of play for a throw-in. At Bradford City, it simply didn't work out for him. His life at Bradford City started out horrendously with that double leg break. He came back and kind of got a little bit of sympathy towards the back end of the previous campaign, but this season started out just as poor, and on the whole was a really poor signing for the football club. Had a terrible season with Bradford City, went to Forest Green and didn't do too bad. It'll be interesting to see if he stays with them in the National League and tries to get them back up into League 2, but on the whole, Osadebe, in my opinion, I'll probably have to put him in that woeful category. Certainly some decisions that I'm sure you disagree with so far, but if you are enjoying, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Let's waste no further time and get back into it. Alex Patterson is another very frustrating one, because in League 2 for Bradford City this season, he only managed the 9 appearances and just the 6 starts. He's had 3 long-term hamstring injuries this campaign, especially his most recent one. He hasn't featured in a matchday squad for Bradford City since Doncaster away pre-Christmas. He has been out for a lengthy period of time, and fingers crossed he can get back to full fitness for the summer. Started out the season absolutely brilliantly, scored a number of match winners. I think he scored for 3 games in a row, then went on this really horrible run where he come back for a couple of games, then picked up another long-term injury and be out for a couple of months, and it happened 3 times, and obviously we haven't seen him since before Christmas. When he did play, looked absolutely brilliant. It's massively frustrating because he hasn't played enough this season to really give a proper opinion on, but in the games that he did play, he looked really good, and he looked like that goal-scoring central midfielder which which we needed to sign in the summer, and we did that. And unfortunately, he's just been massively hit with injuries this season. When he did play very good, maybe even outstanding, but because he has only managed the 6 starts and 9 appearances for us in total in the league, I think I can't put him any higher than average. I really want to put him in good, but he simply hasn't played enough this season, so I'm going to put him in average at the top end though. Harry Chapman is a very frustrating one because it's clear for all to see there's a very good player in Harry Chapman, quite similar to Clark, I would say, but he just doesn't show it on a consistent enough basis, and he has only managed the 3 starts this season for Bradford City. Missed a large part of the first half of the season with that hamstring injury that he picked up towards the back end of the previous campaign away at Swindon, but like I say, just the 3 starts in the league for us this season, 15 appearances from him in total, no goals and 2 assists. Came on off the bench in a couple of matches. I remember at home to Mansfield and at home to Doncaster where he came on off the bench and provided an assist in both of them games. Obviously the Mansfield game, that was largely irrelevant, but assisted our quite late equaliser against Doncaster in that fixture. But on the whole, for me, like I say, just the 3 starts, simply not consistent enough, and at times kind of lacked that commitment, didn't really want to try and challenge and make himself undroppable in that side, and just didn't show it on a consistent enough basis. I'll be massively interested to see where he does end up this summer, because there's clearly a very talented player in Harry Chapman. Maybe didn't necessarily suit Graham Alexander's system, but from what I personally saw, I think it was a poor season from Chapman. I would say probably worse than what it was last year as well. Ash Taylor is a man that I think we all expect to move on this summer, or we all hope to move on this summer. Should have never been signed by the football club in the summer. Some really, really poor recruitment from us there, and thankfully hasn't played for us since the end of January and has been absolutely terrible. Has had a number of injuries this season. In the games that he has played has been absolutely shocking. At 12 appearances for him in total in the league, 10 of them being starts. Also did pick up an assist though in the match away at Forest Green Rovers. Also has picked up a red card this season. In the games that he's played, we've only managed to keep 1 clean sheet, while statistically defensively hasn't been awful. 1.8 interceptions per game, 0.2 tackles per game, but 3.9 balls recovered per game and 5.1 clearances per game as well. He's had a number of errors which have led to goals. He wins 65% of his aerial duels, but just 36% of his ground duels. The fact that he got a 2-year contract was absolutely criminal, and from what I've seen of Ash Taylor, I don't really want to see him in a Bradford City shirt again. Far too slow, runs like he's in quicksand, and absolutely has to go in that woeful category. From one centre half to another then, next up is Matty Platt, and I might go a little bit bold with this one, but I was massively impressed with Matty Platt this season. Statistically, very important. We only won 1 league match this season, which Platt didn't play him, and he did pick up a couple of injuries this season, which if he'd have stayed fit for the full campaign, we might have snuck into the playoffs, but played 35 matches for us in total in the league, 33 of them being starts, got 2 goals and 1 assist, 12 clearances kept, 0.9 interceptions per game, 1.6 tackles per game, 4.7 balls recovered per game and 4.5 clearances per game as well. He wins 65% of his ground duels and 63% of his aerial duels as well. Did pick up the 10 yellow cards for us this season. Ended the season quite disappointingly. Distribution, we know, isn't particularly great, but defensively, a man who you want when your backs are against the walls. Matty Platt is that man for me. I really do hope he signs a new contract with the football club, and I'm going bold. It might be unpopular. Matty Platt, though, for me, had an absolutely outstanding season. Improved on last campaign, and for me personally, was our 3rd most important player for us this season. He's going in the outstanding category. Now, Jake Young is a massively frustrating one because obviously he spent the first half of the season out on loan at Swindon. Mike Hughes clearly did not like Jake Young and absolutely set the world on fire with Swindon. Got 16 goals and 4 assists in 23 starts and averaged a goal every 132 minutes with a 22% goal conversion rate. He created 3 big chances as well and had a really, really good season with Swindon. We decided to recall him in January, as you would expect. Missed the first couple of matches in January as we thought he might be going to Carlisle and joining Harry Lewis there, but thankfully we managed to hold out and we kept him. Then 4 games later he will be out for the remainder of the season with a long-term hamstring injury. Massively disappointing. Only managed a 1 start as well for us this season. His other 3 appearances come in as a substitute, and I simply have to put him in that didn't play enough category, because while at Swindon obviously it was absolutely incredible, Bradford City was injured for the large part, or unavailable through obviously the transfer drama. Only missed one Swindon game as well while he was there, and that was against Bradford City, where he couldn't play because of the clause in his contract. But I can't put him in any other position other than didn't play enough, because he only managed the 4 appearances for Bradford City and only one of them being a start. Kieran Kelly is a man who I would say has massively improved this season compared to last campaign. Played 34 matches for us in League 2 this season, 32 of them being starts, no goals and 2 assists. He kept 9 clean sheets, averaging 1.6 interceptions per game, 1.8 tackles per game, 3.3 balls recovered per game, and 5.2 clearances per game as well. He wins 57% of his ground duels and 61% of his aerial duels, with a 63% successful dribble rate. Now Kelly, I'm a little bit undecided on, because he has had some really good games. He's also had some quite poor games and made a couple of mistakes. Do you think Notts County at home, where they beat us 3-0, their third goal he gets absolutely bullied with? And yes, he's playing slightly out of position, because he has played for the large part this season as a left centre back, and he was playing as a middle centre back in that game. His distribution at times is a little bit interesting. He dives in for some silly tackles, and I think that recently it hasn't quite been in his game. It was there more at the start of the campaign under Mike Hughes. I certainly think Graham Alexander has improved at Kieran Kelly. For me, he's either in the bottom end of good or the top end of average. I look at the players who are in both of them categories so far, and I think I'm just going to edge him to go in the top end of average. Tyler Smith, again, another really interesting discussion point for us. Signed a 3-year contract with the football club in the summer, and we were all expecting a lot of big things for Tyler Smith. Has had a couple of injury problems for us this season. Made 38 appearances for us in League 2 in total, only 19 of them being starts, but then only contributed 5 goals for the football club and missed 10 big chances in the league this season. In the FL Trophy, did very well. In the league, massively struggled. Only had a 9% goal conversion rate in the league for us, chipped in with no assists as well. Obviously only wins 17% of his aerial duels. If we have a look at some of his stats though from the Football League Trophy, he had a 30% goal conversion rate in that competition, with 6 goals, averaging a goal every 70 minutes, and obviously won the Golden Boot in that competition. Massively struggled in the league though, and always seems to score the hard chances. You look at his catalogue of goals that he scored in the league. Barrow away is a really hard finish. Doncaster at home, a really tough finish. Should the keeper do better? Yes, but still a really hard finish. Accrington at home, again, a really tough finish. Even the Barrow at home goal, it's not a particularly easy finish for him. I've seen a lot of players mess that up, especially on our dodgy pitch. On the whole though, in terms of his league performance, we expected much better from Tyler Smith. Did contribute a few good moments and salvaged us some really good points at times as well. Kept our season alive with that goal against Barrow. On the whole though, I think Smith is probably disappointed with his campaign, and I'm disappointed with Tyler Smith. I expect better from him next season if he's still here. He might go out on loan. For me personally though, I'm putting him in the poor category. Sam Walker is massively similar to Callum Kavanagh in terms of he came in January and the expectations on Walker weren't particularly high, and I think massively exceeded them in total. For the first couple of games looked a bit shaky. I remember his debut away at Colchester should definitely save their goal and did make a few mistakes. I would say the big problem I have with Sam Walker is sometimes he is glued to his goal line. He needs to come out and sweep a bit more, but massive improvement on Harry Lewis in my personal opinion. Obviously Lewis was poor this season. Sam Walker, I would say, was pretty solid for us. Signed an 18-month deal with the football club. Did average conceding 1.2 goals per game in his 20 starts, obviously 20 appearances in the league for us. Did manage to keep 7 clean sheets as well, which is not too bad of a return. I think pretty similar numbers to Harry Lewis, but you look at some of the defences that Walker was having to put up with compared to what Harry Lewis had in front of him. At times you were playing a back three of Oyegoke, Liam Ridehalgh and Kieran Kelly. You know, with all due respect, it's not particularly great in my personal opinion, and Sam Walker for me, I think on the whole has probably proved me and a few other Bradford fans wrong, considering he was just Colin Doyle's mate that we decided to sign. But on the whole, a very solid goalkeeper for us, and I think if he can work on being a bit more confident in coming out and sweeping, I think he will be a very good goalkeeper for us next season. But in terms of a shot stopper, absolutely brilliant. And I think in that period where we were conceding goals for fun around March, when them 4 games which have obviously massively cost us this season, in them games he made a number of really top tier saves. So for me personally, I think Sam Walker did have a good season. Jonathan Tomkinson was the ball-playing defender that Mark Hughes was clearly craving out for. We'd worked so hard to get him in the summer around deadline day, eventually once his international clearance came through, and then Mark Hughes just didn't decide to play him, was really struggling to get in the matchday squad, and only really got his first appearance at the football club, I think, under Graham Alexander in the FL Trophy, and when he came into the side, then really struggled to get out of it. The only times he was coming out of the side was for when he was away with USA's, is it under 20s or under 23, something like that, because he wants to play for them in the Olympics, and that's massive for him. Did only manage the 23 appearances for us in the league, 17 of them being starts. He kept 7 clean sheets, averaging 1 interception per game, 1.7 tackles per game, 4.4 balls recovered per game, and 3.1 at clearances per game. Did commit 1 penalty offence, obviously away at Crewe. His duel stats aren't particularly great, won 54% of his ground duels and 50% of his aerial duels. Passing, in terms of that, on the ball, pretty solid as well. I would say 57% passing accuracy, which for a team who play quite direct football isn't too bad, and I think at times did struggle and physically sometimes lost the battles against them sort of bigger strikers that you don't really ever want to come up against, and I think that's why some of our centre-halves complement each other more than certain other pairings. For example, you don't want to see a back three of Sam Stubbs, Ash Taylor and Kieran Kelly, or Swindon away will happen, but Tomkinson has that recovery pace, and for someone who's 6'4", I don't think he's too bad in the air, but you would certainly expect him to be better. He's not the most physical of defenders. I would say on the whole, when he played, was probably solid. I would say did have some bad games, and I think at times looked a little bit nervy on the ball, was making a few rash decisions. It's a really tricky one, again very similar to Kieran Kelly, either the bottom end of good or a top end of average. I think if we're being harsh and looking at the fact he only managed 17 starts for the club this season, I think I'm putting him in at the top end of average, but I think that one might be a little bit unpopular. Tyreek Wright, again, a loan signing in January, which we had so big expectations for and massively failed to deliver them. 14 appearances for him in total, with obviously his loan spell with the football club. 11 of them have been starts, 2 goals and no assists in there. Both of them goals coming in the same match away at Accrington Stanley, which you could argue was one of his worst performances with the football club. But for me, massively struggled this time round. Was terrible in a front three, playing as a left winger, even as a right winger at times as well. And then moved to left wing back for the last 5 or 6 games of the season and looked better there, but massively got caught out defensively, and I think really struggled from that point of view. Going forward, a 20% accurate cross rate, but defensively absolutely woeful. 0.4 interceptions per game, 0.9 tackles per game, 0.7 clearances per game as well. 1 error which led to a shot, I think that was Walsall away when Isaac Hutchinson hit the post. On the whole though, for me, a massively underwhelming signing. I don't think he was terrible because he did contribute with a couple of goals and didn't look too bad in certain games, but on the whole I would say he's the bottom end of poor. He was an underwhelming signing, and I don't want us to go in and get him back for next campaign. Sam Stubbs, again, very interesting to talk about because had some really good games, had some games though which he certainly did struggle in. Hasn't featured since the start of March after fracturing his skull against Doncaster Rovers, a foul which I never understand how he got booked for. It was a blatant elbow in his face. Played the 26 matches for us in total in League 2, 22 of them being starts. No goal contributions, kept 5 clean sheets, which isn't particularly great, but defensively looked okay. 1.9 interceptions per game, 1.6 tackles per game, 6 balls recovered per game, and 4.1 clearances per game as well. He did have 2 errors which led to a shot with a 70% successful dribble rate. 64% of his ground duels won, 66% of his aerial duels won as well. And I think on the whole for me, again similar to JT, Kieran Kelly, probably the bottom end of good or the top end of average. I think if we're being fair, Stubbs did play a couple more games than JT, obviously less games than Kieran Kelly, and had some really poor games in the back three. I certainly think Stubbs suits a back four much more than a back three, but I'll probably put Sam Stubbs in the average category just to keep it fair. To end today's video then, I'm pretty sure this is every player who has played enough minutes for Bradford City to go through and rank. We have Alex Gilliard to talk about here. Again, signed a 2-year contract with the football club in the summer, and I was disappointed by that. I only really wanted to see him be a backup with us, and on the whole, started out the season very well, but I certainly think faded away towards the back end of the campaign where he wasn't playing much and was kind of just used to come on off the bench and help see the game out because he's got a lot of energy. And I think at the start of the season when he was scoring goals, I could certainly certainly see the argument to put him in that good category. But for me personally, when them goals dried up, you don't really see what he really offers to this side going forward. Defensively, we know he's going to work hard, but in my opinion, that is the absolute bare minimum at the football club, and you need better than just working hard to be a successful promotion winning side. And I see Gilead, for me personally, as much more of a backup next season. I don't really see him playing consistent football apart from to come on off the bench for the last 10, 15, 20 minutes to run around, use his energy and help us see the game out. He played 38 matches for us in total in the league this season, 33 of them being starts, only got 3 goals and 1 assist, 4 goal contributions from midfield isn't great. Patterson nearly got that, and what did he get, 5 or 6 starts this season? The goals that he did score were very good. MK Dons is a brilliant strike, Grimsby game is also a brilliant strike, and off the top of my head I can't remember who his other goal was against, but I think it might have been at Notts County away. I'm not too sure if that one actually did go down as an own goal, but 4 goal contributions, like I say, in 38 League 2 appearances isn't particularly great. Worked hard, and I think he does deserve credit for that, but I do think he is and was overrated by our fan base this season because of how hard he did work. You look at Brad Halliday, who worked as equally hard. He had that end product going forward, and he was very good defensively. And maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on Gilead. You could certainly see the argument to say he had a good season, but if we're being brutally honest, Gilead hasn't got enough goal contributions again from midfield. While it's an improvement on last year, it's still not enough, and for me personally, I'm chucking him in that average category. A lot of players this season who have been average, and I look at my list here then, and the fact you've got players like Jonathan Tomkinson, Alex Gilead in the same category as Wright and Stubs and Adam Wilson, but I think every player is different because you've got to base it on how they played and also the amount of games that they played, because availability is the best ability in my opinion, and you can be the best player in the world, but if you play 5 matches a season, then you're not really much use to us over the full campaign. So I'll look through there then. In the outstanding category, we've got Bobby Pointon, Brad Halliday and Matty Platt. In the good category, we've got Callum Kavanagh, Andy Cook, Jamie Walker, Richie Smallwood and Sam Walker. In the average category, we've got Lewis Richards, Adam Wilson, Rayhan Tulloch, Colin Doyle, Alex Patterson, Kieran Kelly, Jonathan Tomkinson, Sam Stubbs and Alex Gilead. In the poor category, we've got Clark Ador, Daniel Oyegoke, Kevin McDonald, Harry Chapman, Tyler Smith and also Tyreek Wright. And in the woeful category, we've got Liam Ridehalgh, Harry Lewis, Matt Darbishire, Emmanuel Osadebe and Ash Taylor. And finally, the 3 players who didn't really play enough for Bradford City this season, which is Mafoka, Verden Oliver and also Jake Young. 3 strikers there, not really getting much game time. You could probably put that down to how good Andy Cook, Callum Kavanagh, the likes were, especially in that second half of the season. But anyway, today's video has been a very long one, so hopefully you have all enjoyed. If you have, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try and hit 150 likes. As I said at the start of today's video, that would be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We're on the road to 9,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed. If you haven't already, with that post notification bell on, it's free to do so, and it does massively help out. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Do you agree or disagree with my ranking? Let me know down below your player of the season, your worst player of the season, your most underrated and also your most overrated player as well from the 23-24 campaign. The thumbnail took me quite a long time to do, just over 2 hours in total, so let me know your thoughts on that as well down below. Thank you all for watching, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one. Peace.